and I'm that person too.
I'm coming for your brand, Katie. Look out. Look out, you two.
Hey, everybody. Today we're going to talk about ways to diffuse family conflict. I hear from a lot of you that there's different dynamics in families, and we might bring someone new into our family. What do we do with that? And today, to assist us in our learning, I have brought my good friend Joslyn Davis here.
Yes. Hey, friends. What's up? I'm Joslyn Davis, a fellow content creator here on the interwebs, big fan of Katie, and I happen to have a huge family that I don't want conflict with.
Thank you for taking the time.
Yes, this is so fun.
I know. It's so good to see you in person. The funny thing about my family, when I was putting together these ideas, I was like, oh, you'll be perfect, is my family didn't like conflict at all. It's funny, and I don't know if it's part me or part my parents or everybody. If anybody raised their voice, I'd like, it was too
It's
much.
inappropriate.
I don't like it.
Yes.
And so it was really hard for me growing up to know how to healthfully have conflict. Like anger still is very like, I don't
Off limits, a sort of thing.
like if anybody has like conflict with me and like lashes out, I find myself like my heart racing and like wanting to shut down. What's the dynamic in your family?
So maybe because of how my parents grew up with like some conflicting situations in their own families, my parents were always like, in our house, nothing is under the rug, especially my mom, which is so interesting because she's basically like the reincarnation of Mary Poppins. So like everything is pleasantly perfect in every way, but if it is not, we're talking about it. Okay. But the interesting thing is my parents were never yellers. So when people start yelling, I'm not comfortable. I can't deal with it. I immediately shut off. I'm like, isn't there a way we can fix this without yelling? I don't like yelling. It honestly makes me like cringe and kind of freak out. But yeah, that was my dynamic. It's like, if something is going on, we're going to talk about it at the dinner table. It's all coming out and we will get along. Like it was always the top priority. My parents really fostered that in our house growing up and really wanted us to be friends and be our own people and appreciate each other and our differences and be interested in each other. And it's worked. Now I'm 40 and like my siblings are my best friends. So yeah.
That's really great because it's great to like have it out and not in an aggressive way. It's funny because I know different family dynamics. So one of my good friends, Jamie, growing up, like my first best friend, her parents were shouters.
Oh, and it scares me.
Yes. It's weird. Very scary. But what it taught me is that people have different ways of communicating and it didn't mean they were angry.
No.
It was just the way they talked.
Exactly. So
It's
different family culture, family dynamics. And I prefer more of a soft-spoken or lively conversation, but not yelling.
Agreed.
To this day. Still.
Agreed. Same. What do you prefer? Let us know. Now I want to get into ways that we can diffuse family conflict because whether we like it or not, when we're involving ourselves with other people, there can be those disagreements. And one of the first tools I want to talk about is something that I actually use in my practice a lot, and it's called the floor technique. And traditionally in therapy, it's actually a little piece of laminated paper. But you don't really need that. You don't need to be in therapy to use it. I use it in my life all the time. But what the floor really is a technique, meaning if I have it's almost like the talking stick. Everybody's seen that, right? And you've got the stick and you're the one talking. If I have the floor, that means that I get to speak. However, I don't speak for anybody else but myself. I only speak about what I'm experiencing, and then I stop. Then I pass the floor to someone else. They have to tell me what they've heard. I have to agree, and then they speak. And it just slows down the process. I know it feels kind of tedious, but what it prevents is misunderstandings, people feeling misunderstood or making assumptions, and then things escalating because it's slow. So the way that I kind of trick and do that without people knowing is when they speak, I listen, and then I say what I heard was, and people will automatically say yay, nay, and then you move on. Now, I can't force them to do it themselves, but that at least is me towing my line.
You know, I think sometimes the most amazing things, the most rewarding things are the hardest things to do. So learning how to be patient, just working that out throughout the rest of your life is something that I think is going to really benefit your relationships in a huge way. Also not easy to do.
No,
I'm still learning. Yes.
Same. It is a virtue, right? It's something that helps us allow people to meet us and for them to be ready. Because sometimes I find when I engage in difficult conversations, I'll want someone to be there right away and to get it and to get me and to follow along. And it can be too much. And I'm asking too much because they're not caught up. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think, again, it goes back to what you want to receive. That's also what you should be trying to give to others. It's not always easy to do, but I think the benefits are endless.
And in the therapy space, we call that staying in wise mind instead of emotion mind. Emotion mind is reactive and quick acting and can lash out and get angry or yell. But wise mind takes a beat. I always like to think of wise mind as going, okay, like how do I want to respond? And when we do that, when we take a beat, even if someone's coming at us, and this is hard, I can feel like the tingles in my fingers and my heart beating, and I'm like trying not to panic, inside panicking. But if I keep my cool, that prevents me from escalating things further or worse, well, not even necessarily worse, kind of the same, saying something that I can't take back.
Listening to what someone is saying, taking a beat, then responding is absolutely incredible advice. And even to take it a step beyond that, something that I've learned in my old age is not immediately discounting what someone is saying like, well, you're wrong because of X, Y, and Z. I think it's important to be like, hey, I validate your feelings. I'm not saying they're untrue, but X, Y, and Z, like, here's where I'm coming from, because it doesn't mean you have to agree with what someone is telling you. You can still have a very open dialogue and share your honest thoughts.
I love that. And I think one of the key pieces, and something that I talk about all the time on my channel, is not being black and white or nothing. And that I loved that word of advice of they're not all wrong and you're not all right.
You got to live in the gray, baby. That's where I live, I think, very comfortably. I know some people have just like personality traits or just the way that we are as people. Some people live comfortably in black and white. I don't. The gray space is where it's at.
Well, that's where life is at, really.
I mean, I think so too. So for me, it makes things a little bit easier, but there are people you're going to have conflicts with who think in black and white. So that's something to take into consideration. Like maybe if you're having a disagreement with someone for whom things are black and white, it's going to be hard to be like, it's fine, no big deal, we're just living in the gray. Because that's how I feel comfortable, but not everyone does.
I don't know what it is about our brain that it likes extremes or it likes to live in all or nothing. It's really unhealthy and it makes us feel bad, right? So a tip to kind of find ourselves in the gray, or at least maybe lure somebody into the gray, is to acknowledge points that they've made that you agree with, and then offer a different perspective on other points. So let's say the disagreement is that I didn't like the way you talked to me at this event, and they're telling you this. I didn't like the way you talked to me at this event. You said this, that, and the other. You can say, I am so sorry. I realize I said that and that could be taken in a bad way. That wasn't my intention. I also felt very rushed because you wanted to get out of there and I didn't know how to navigate that well, right? So we're acknowledging, yes, that's okay. I agree. And then we're also saying, but this is my side and let's find our place in the middle. And it's not obviously that easy, and people can still be aggressive and angry. We can't control other people, but we can control ourselves and whether we're going to get pulled into all or nothing, right or wrong. And I know it's hard, right? We're trying to work with other people. What other advice do you have for diffusing things if we find ourselves getting pulled by others?
Well, one that's been really great for us is managing expectations. And, I think back to my days working at Outback Steakhouse when I was a bartender and a waitress there forever. And I remember the owner of the restaurant constantly saying, you need to look ahead. You need to think about, like, when is this person going to need a drink refill? Don't make them ask for it. Get ahead of it. And I kind of have taken that into my relationships. And my husband and I have a huge family, and we're so fortunate because we love our families. We love spending time with them. But, he thinks I'm a little out of control, but I'll be like, honest with you guys. I'm already talking to him about what are we doing and who are we spending Christmas 2023 with? Because we need to start letting people know so they're not surprised, their feelings aren't hurt. On this holiday, we're going to be with you. Like, let's start talking about it 6 months in advance so that nobody's bummed out if we can't make X, Y, and Z, or people are excited about the times we can spend together, what we are capable of doing, how late we can stay out. It just honestly to get ahead of things so that people are not bummed out, you're not hurting someone's feelings helps eliminate conflict on the front end. Are we perfect at this? Absolutely not. It's definitely a learning curve, but it's something that's been helpful to us because we love our families and we love spending time with them. My mom always jokes, she's like, you're not an avocado. You can't make everyone happy. And that's true. But we want to try as hard as we can and always do our best. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. And that's something we have found is an excellent tactic.
One of my favorite quotes, and I don't even remember who said it, is unspoken expectations are resentments in the making. And that kind of ties right into what Joslyn is saying, that like you have to let people know. Otherwise, we could hurt feelings without meaning to. My next tip, which is about boundaries. And I did a workshop recently about boundaries, which a lot of you attended. And it was really great, honestly, for me also to learn, because even though I talk about it, I know how to ask the right questions and get people in my office to recognize when boundaries need to be placed. It was good practice for me to remind myself that boundaries have nothing to do with requests. And what I mean by that is I can say, hey, Joslyn, I don't want you to talk to me this way. And you can or cannot do that.
Right.
That's a request. But a boundary is if you keep talking to me that way, I'm not going to be able to see you anymore. That's the boundary. And it doesn't have to be that harsh, obviously, but boundaries are what we are going to do. And so if a family member, let's say, is always expecting us to go to their house for Christmas, and we're like, hey, I'm married now, I have other other family members, then we have to say, if you keep harping on this, you're making it really difficult for me. I won't be able to come for Christmas anymore, right? That could be a boundary.
That's a rough one. I'm going to be real with you. This kind of stuff is still hard for me to navigate as a 40-year-old. I'm like, I just want everyone to be happy.
Oh,
people pleasing. It's so hard to get over.
It's so hard. Hello, I don't like conflict. I'm like,
either.
shutting down. I want people to know that communication isn't going to skirt you around having boundaries. It's hard. But boundaries also don't have to be harsh ultimatums or anything. Boundaries can be unspoken, where it's like, hey, if you're going to keep harping on me, I'm not going to reply for a while. There's a lot of opportunity, I think, for all of us to better communicate and also respect ourselves and other people by having boundaries around what they can expect and what they can't.
Because I know for people like me, setting boundaries very daunting. I don't even think about it probably as much as, I don't know, maybe I should, or maybe my boundaries are intact. I don't know. I'm learning a lot.
No, but I love that though, that boundaries can shift with time as we grow up, as our life changes, we bring other people into our life, our family, or whatever. It can shift, and it's going to be different when I'm 21. From now, I'll be 40 this year.
Yes.
So I know.
Love it.
Get smarter. But it has changed over time, especially time is our most valuable asset.
Absolutely.
So how are we going to spend it? And what kind of expectations do I need to manage?
So like I said, I feel like I'm in my own one-on-one therapy session, which I'm loving. But what do you do? And I haven't dealt with this, thankfully, in my own immediate family dynamic. But what do you do if the relationship is just toxic? There's no fixing it. This is a mess. It's not good for me. It's not good for them. What do you do?
There's a couple of things, and I've talked a lot with my audience about this over the years, but you have a couple of options. So first, you have to decide safety. Can I continue in this relationship? And when I say safety, I don't just mean physical. I mean emotional too. Is it costing me too much? Consider that. It also can help if you're like, I don't know how to assess that. It can help to consider, what would I expect or hope for this relationship? And what are they able to give? And is that enough for me? Okay. So we've done our pre-work. Then we decide, okay, if it's not working, if the answer is that's not enough for me and it's actually not safe, then I give you full permission to disconnect as much as you can. When it's family, it's tricky. We might still have to see them at an event once or twice a year, but for as much as we can, it's okay to distance yourself. There's got to be grief involved. It feels kind of icky, but that's okay. It does get better. Then the second option is what I call minimal relationship, which is hey, I can't really have them in my life in the way that I need, but what I can do is I can communicate with them every so often, giving them just a surface level, what's going on with me, because I at least feel good to be connected without giving them enough ammunition to potentially hurt me later. And I know that sucks, but those are just kind of our options. But that first key, that pre-work, is really important for us to be honest with ourselves.
The thing that I always find to be I don't know, to make me feel a little bit better when maybe I have like a friendship that's not the same as it was before. You can really love people from afar without talking to them.
Totally.
And care about them and root for them and want the best for them genuinely without engaging in a relationship, because I don't think we're all meant to be like BFFs with everybody.
So the relationship that was our BFF at 22 might not be at 40.
Right.
Because I've like evolved 17,000 times, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
So I'm changing and growing, and they're changing and growing, and then could be going in the same direction, or we could not be.
And that's okay. That's just life.
It doesn't have to be like a breakup or like a big... Totally. So what can people find on your channel? I love to watch you. I follow on Instagram. It's funny because I hadn't seen her in person, but I feel like I know what's going on.
I know. It's so deceptive, but what is time during COVID? So on my YouTube channel specifically, you will see my family very highly featured. My husband and I renovate, flip houses, remodel houses. We have a lot of Airbnb properties in Phoenix, Arizona, if that's your jam. And so we're just taking people on the whole journey of what we're doing, or adventure journey. I'm so over because of The Bachelor. I feel like they've stolen that word. So our adventure. And, also some other fun content, some stuff in like the wellness and beauty space. Yeah, hopefully it's all bringing you joy. That's the goal.
Yeah,
always.
That's why I like her Instagram the most, because it's just very positive and happy. And I feel like I'm like following along, like, yes, go be fun. Oh yeah, oh that looks yummy. I like that breakfast burrito, or oh I like that eyeshadow, or whatever.
The breakfast burrito game is very important to me.
Yes. So go check her stuff out. We'll link it in the description. Thanks for spending time with us.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see you IRL.